He is capable of doing something like that.
I know.
If there's a guy that would do it, it's probably him.
I know.
That would do it.
And I
That would
hope
do
he
it.
does.
Were you here when BBC came here?
I was here.
How was that experience? I know they were very friendly, and you guys checked them on their vaccines and masks and everything. But how was that entire experience from your optics?
I love that people underestimate both my brother and myself. They see a bunch of money and they see fast cars. I don't know how they think I got it. I don't know if they think I'm a thug, a criminal, a trust fund kid. I've heard all the theories, but nobody actually understands that Andrew and I are very intelligent people. I don't know why. The people who hate us assume that we're dumb. Oh, they're kickboxing, they got punched in the head a few times, they're probably thugs. They have no idea. That woman was totally unprepared for who she sat down across from. She was unprepared. She could have done, I mean, I think you famously put out she did no more than 5 hours of research. I think less than that. But she could have sat and watched every single word Andrew has ever said and came with the same attacks and looked equally as stupid. I feel like the BBC know this. I don't think the BBC as an institution are as stupid as people are making them out to be. I think that the woman they sent, they knew was unprepared. They don't care. How many views are on that video compared to all the other views they get? No one's watching the TV. No one who wants news goes home at 9 o'clock and turns on BBC anymore. It's all internet. It's all clicks. Tucker Carlson is wiping the floor with everybody at the moment, and God bless him, he's doing a wonderful thing. But they sent her like a lamb to the slaughter. I really believe that the top of the top BBC executives have to be smart enough to know that this woman was not an intellectual match for Andrew Tate. They must have known. They've seen his previous interviews. But this woman didn't know. And it was frankly embarrassing for her. I was standing right here on this balcony listening to the entire thing. It was happening right here. And I felt embarrassed for her.
Yeah, clearly she had an agenda. Clearly they lost. What I thought was pretty pathetic is even if you have an agenda, even if you don't agree with the person, at the very least, shake the person's hand.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't she shake either of your guys' hands at the end of the interview? That's just low class.
Yes, it was. And it was the fact that if she had felt that she had got the better of him, she would have shaken his hand. She absolutely would have.
She clearly lost.
Yes, because she shook his hand in the beginning. So, yeah.
Let me ask you, so clear the air. If they're accusing you of they don't know how you make money, you guys run the real world. You guys run the war room. Justin Waller, who we were saying nice things about earlier, shout out to Jay Waller.
Nice things,
He put out a tweet last week. I'm going to allow you to clarify. He said, last week I put out a challenge for any student of the real world to pay the next month's mortgage for their parent.
Yes.
He gave an example of a guy named Didar. So Didar, shout out to you, came through and for his Mother Day. Could not be more proud of this young man. I know Cobra Tate and the Talisman would feel the same. So here you are changing actual people's lives, enabling young men to pay their parents' mortgage.
Yes.
What are you doing with the real world? What are you doing with the war room that's actually enabling people to help their family, to make money? And as a byproduct, obviously, you guys make money.
Well, the real world I think it's almost a revolution in education, which is another reason why I think everyone wants Andrew to shut up. I feel like the traditional way, because you have to understand, universities have a monopoly on the borrowing credit of young people. An 18-year-old who wants to be a pilot cannot say, hey, bank, give me some money so I can take some flying lessons and get my pilot's license. They'll say, no, join the military or don't. He can't say, I've got a great business idea, give me a loan, I'm going to start an ice cream store, here's the business plan. They'll say, no, hey, I want to study gender studies, give me $100,000. Boom. They write the checks every single time. And the people you're learning from are not necessarily qualified to make you a better fit for the workforce. They're not necessarily qualified to teach you anything about how to make money, which used to be the end goal of university. I do not shit on university. My doctors went to university. My lawyers went to university. University is absolutely necessary in today's society. But telling every young person that that's the only path to success. The real world was founded on the principle that when me and Andrew were young, we had to jump through hoops to network with high-level people. My dad knew a rich chess player. This guy ran a kickboxing tournament. Okay, let me see if I could speak to him for 10 minutes after, see if I can learn anything. Now, $49 a month, you are in direct contact with millionaires who we've all verified. We verified them personally. People who have made millions of dollars in their industry, and they are going to teach you how they did it and what you should do if you wish to emulate them. So we're cutting out the middleman in a way. So it is absolutely wonderful. Do some people join the real world and just have it on their phone and think it's magic and think it's going to make them money and not make money? Perhaps. It's a resource like anything else, like a great book. But you have to put the time in, you have to learn the knowledge from it. And yeah, that guy paid his mother's mortgage payment.
Respect. So what's the difference between the real world and the war room?
The war room, you have to think of it more of as as a private members network. Whereas the real world, nobody's vetted, nobody's kicked out. Anybody who wants to jump in at any point, man, woman, or child, of any age, can get inside and learn from the people who are professors in the war room, in the real world. And see, I just mixed them up just there. Why the name's so similar? Whereas the war room is something very, very different. I'll let Andrew's probably given a description of the war room, and I feel like that will be adequate. So I'll leave it at that, because I am just a war room member, like everybody else. I do not own the war room.
So this whole time I thought you guys might have been 50-50 partners on all this. Is this all Andrew?
Well, we're 50-50 partners on everything.
You are?
Yeah. If I went outside right now and, I don't know, did anything that made money, it goes into the same banks. It goes into the same accounts. Anything any of us do goes into the same banks and the same accounts. And, you know, when you're successful enough, that's hard to keep track of. It's not just one account with one number. It's all over the world. So all of our money is collective money. So it doesn't matter what he earns, what I earn, because it all goes into the same place.
Good to know.
War room and real world.
Real world, yeah.
How many total members? Do you guys have an idea how many members?
I think the real world, we have an excess of 200,000 students.
Holy, 200,000
An
students
excess of
in the real
200,000
world.
students,
Wow.
absolutely.
Very impressive.
And then for anybody who can do basic maths, you know, to assume that I would need to kidnap anyone to make money is ridiculous. I'll just leave that out there. But, you know, the people who are involved in this attack don't care how I make money. They don't care in the truth. They don't care about the truth. They just want to spin some negative story about me. And I feel like they failed, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Time will tell the way it's going right now.
Yep.
We're going to see what's going to happen here soon.
But I'm not afraid of anything. They can't stop me. Have you ever been a child and found something scary? I have an example. I was living in Indiana, 7 years old, and everyone was jumping into this lake from this big tall rock. And I sat there all day and all afternoon while everyone jumped off this big tall rock. I walked to the edge of it 5 or 6 times. And I thought, you know what? That's scary. I'm not going to do it. And by the end of the day, I jumped and thought, oh, well, that was no big deal. And I did it again and again. Then it was time to go home. I was no longer afraid of that. The worst punishment these people can do is to try to discredit my name, which fails, and to put me in jail. I've jumped off the rock. I'm not scared of jail anymore. You want to send me back? Good, because if you send me back, you're now going to have to explain to the world why. You're going to have to show the evidence this time. So you better prove it. You know, whether I get sent back or not, they're going to have to finally show their cards. They've been sitting here with a 7 and a 2, while I'm across them with aces, and there are aces all across the floor. And they've been chip leader, pushing their chips around, making their power moves. The time is coming where they're going to have to put their cards on the table.
It's going to be tough for them.
Yeah.
It's going to be really tough for them. By the way, were you here when, well, I'm assuming you were here, when I think it was Andrew who showed the clip where he agreed for the vice guy to come here. Is this a true story?
Yeah. There was an event that the War Room held called The Test. Nobody knew why they were coming or what they were doing, and Andrew matched them up in a professional fight on no notice, because everyone likes to talk big and say, I'm ready, and I've been physically training, etc. And people could either pass the test by getting in the cage or fail the test by denying it. And the vice guys went through the test, and the entire time he went through the test, he was like, this is awesome, yeah, I understand how this helps men grow, and etc. Gave me all the bullshit in my ear. I knew he was a snake from day one, called him out on the podcast. So this guy's a complete dork, and he's not to be trusted. Now, Andrew ran this idea by everybody. The people who are careful, my legal team, my PR team, some of them are here. And a lot of people said, no, don't do that. No, you'll look like a bully, you'll look like you're mean. I was like, this guy, when we were in jail, released the most biased piece of negative journalism I've ever seen against us. Screw this guy. Andrew was like, really? I said, yeah, go for it, Andrew. I was that guy who said, who cares? What's he gonna do? Break into my house, pass my security guards, and somehow beat me up? Now, we would have loved to fly to Australia or Thailand and stand him up there, so he's got a nice, 16-hour economy flight home. But sadly, all we could do was Bucharest. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious. He's still begging for an interview, by the way, even today.
How long was he waiting outside?
Oh, he came back twice. He wasted the whole day, but outside of my gate and physical hours spent, maybe 3.
It's a shame what's happened to Vice these days, by the way.
George Soros buying him out for $400 million.
Yeah. Well, people deserve it. They, what goes around comes around. You want to be a little jerk? People are going to treat you like one. Yeah.
They certainly won't forget how you treated them. People will not forget.
Oh, absolutely. They never do.
Speaking of what goes around comes around, there's probably the 2 most famous brothers in the world these days. You get the Tate brothers.
Yeah.
And you get the Paul brothers. Mm-hmm. And there's been some beef, some words exchanged.
Yeah.
no love lost. I don't know, certain people have said certain things about one another. Let's just say you're in a bar, you know, there's no cameras, there's no judges, there's no rules. Tate brothers walk in the bar, Paul brothers walk in the bar. Who walks out?
Me and my brother, every single time. But I understand that this question is phrased to hype the beef between us and the Paul brothers. I actually want to put one thing straight. I have no beef with the Paul brothers. And I don't even think my brother does either. I will go as far as to say I really like Jake Paul. Me and my brother are bigger than the Paul brothers, more fight experience than the Paul brothers. I've taken more punches than the Paul brothers. Wrestling, grappling, me and Andrew have judo experience. Who would win the fight? I feel like that's a juvenile question to ask, because if I saw Jake Paul, I'd buy him a drink. I like Jake. Logan, not so much. But Jake is a hardworking young man who has put it all on the line and gets in the ring against people vastly more experienced than themselves in combat sports. He fought Tommy Fury, who's a vastly more experienced boxer. And I don't feel there's any beef between me and the Paul brothers. I sat down and had drinks with Jake. I would go as far as to say I like Jake. I don't like their relationship as brothers. If I could criticize anything about them, there are clips when Jake's like, oh, I want to be the world champion of boxing. And Logan's like, yeah, good luck. Yeah, as if. I don't feel that's a good way for brothers to behave, but more of that comes from Logan to Jake. There is no beef.
Well, there was beef between your brother, Andrew, and Logan. There was actually
there's beef. Exchange. They probably hate each other now. Okay. But it doesn't matter. I remember a year ago, Logan Paul saying, oh, Andrew's the big fish now, but we'll see in a year where he is. And now no one cares who Logan Paul is. Mm-hmm. So, no one who doesn't drink his cheap, sugary energy drink really cares who he is. I think in 5 years, no one's going to know who he is, but Andrew's still going to be relevant.
Wow.
So, but I think that's how the victory is going to be won. But I don't think about the Paul brothers. Gotcha. I haven't thought about them in a long time. But I have spoken to Jake since getting out of jail. And I will say right now, I like Jake. And I like Logan for one thing and one thing only. Logan brought back, with that loser KSI, this old notion of, okay, we've got beef. Well, instead of rapping about each other or, talking shit on Twitch streams, let's handle it like men. And that's how I grew up. I grew up in a very bad part of town. And, I've had 40-something professional fights myself. That's how beef was settled between men. Nowadays, everyone wants to stab each other or just talk shit and not actually back it up. Logan and KSI brought back the tradition of, I challenge you to a duel. So I feel like Logan has given something great to the world, even though I may personally dislike him a little bit. And Jake, I have nothing bad to say about. So I know that's a boring answer.
No, it's all good.
I respect Jake a
lot. Well, in the last interview we did, your brother called out Logan pretty hard. And then the last time we saw your brother out in public, there was a face-off between him
and Jake.
Him and Jake.
Correct. Yeah, because there was talks of a fight at the time.
Gotcha.
I think certainly any plans to join in on the YouTube boxing community were thwarted by our arrest and our imprisonment. But I also feel right now, and I'll say it unapologetically to anybody involved in that industry, YouTube boxing's dying. It was fun for a while. It was a spectacle for a while.
You think it is? You think it's dying?
I think it's dying. I think people want to see Jake versus KSI. Jake will kill him, by the way. And after that, no one really cares anymore. I think that you can only put a spin on boxing for so long, but you're never going to beat the traditional, this guy's trained 15 years against this guy who's trained 15 years, old school rules of boxing. I've actually likened YouTube boxing to celebrity sex tapes. Hear me out. Lots of people watch pornography, which is haram, by the way. Don't watch pornography. It's one of the worst habits that men could possibly have. But lots of people watch this stuff of professionals having sex with each other, okay? A celebrity sex tape comes out. They're crap at sex. Guy's got a small dick. But everyone watches it. Why? Because it's a novelty. It's entertaining for a very short time. Kim Kardashian got famous that way. Pamela Anderson, Paris Hilton. Back in the day, that was a big deal. Oh, look, it's a novelty. It's porn. But this is a celebrity, someone we know, someone who we watched videos of, someone who we've seen speak on TV. YouTube boxing had its big moment, like celebrity sex tapes had their big moment, and now people are bored of watching losers with small dicks, and they want to see the guys with the big dicks fuck. So now I think people want to see real boxing again, and everyone's bored of this. Well, I know him a bit, so I'm going to watch two idiots elbow each other in the face because they don't know how to throw punches straight.
Well, just so you know, right now, the moment Tommy Lee sees this, he's going to be very upset at you to say what you said about him, because when the sex tape with Tommy Lee and Pamela came out,
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it.
Tommy Lee has got a respect in the market.
Tommy Lee
Okay.
is
All
he's
right.
a known commodity. So last thing.
But does my analogy make sense?
It's a funny
do you get it?
analogy.
And I think I made that up. No one else has ever said that.
No,
so that's
that's
a
the
Tristan
first
Tate
I've heard.
original thought. But I'm right. It's over. Everyone's bored.
Sex tape.